Can we get some bravos in the chat? Can we get some bravos in chat, please, guys? More bravos in the chat. This is going to be very fun. I'm a little nervous for this one. Guys, this is going to be Elizabeth Zharoff of the charismatic voice singing Martern aller Arten, which is a Mozart aria from an opera called Escape from the Seraglio, or Abduction from the Seraglio, Die Entführung aus dem Serail, which is a Singspiel written by Mozart, right? So Mozart wrote many operas for wealthy people, which is, classic. There's music and ensembles and arias interspersed by recitative. Now, his Singspiels were German music, German language, arias and ensembles, interspersed with spoken text. And this was one of the first times in history where this was a thing. I really love Elizabeth. She's a very big inspiration for me, both as an opera singer. She's like, I'm not even gonna say, she's a little older than I am. She's much farther in her career than I am. But the stuff she's accomplished is a huge inspiration. And what's more than that is how she has done such an amazing job in bridging the gap between classical music and non-classical music people. And that's where she is a true inspiration. Because I say this all the time, but the classical music world does such a terrible job at relating to everyday people. And it's really, really awesome seeing classical musicians and classical singers and opera singers bridging that gap. I wouldn't be doing these videos if it wasn't for her, because I think the first time we watched Ghost Love Score on stream, when it was just, I don't know, Lanito was here, but it was just like 10 of us. But then on the sidebar, it popped up like vocal coach / opera singer reacts to this song. It had like 1 million views. So I was like, wait, we should probably do this to kind of get the word of the stream out. And that was her video. So it was a huge, huge inspiration for me. I have so much to owe her. I have so much to learn from her continuing down the line. She's just someone who's just doing a really good job at relating classical music to everyone in the world, getting the word out there and bringing people in. So this is her singing this. This is another thing about this opera. It's a Singspiel. The arias are very difficult. I sing the role in this show of the lead tenor role, and he sings. It's the male lead to the role that she's singing in this aria. But in this case, I saw the thumbnail. It's a concert version, so it's not the full opera. But regardless, this opera is full of virtuosic arias. It's a similar structure to a more famous opera, The Magic Flute, where it's spoken text and music. But the arias and the songs are so much more difficult. They're virtuosic. It's almost like Rossini-esque how difficult these arias are. There's one other Mozart opera that has comparable difficulty, which is Mithridate. And that has that virtuosic quality, but the difficulty of these arias in this opera. When I had to learn this aria for my character, not this same one, but from the same opera, like months and months of practice, getting the runs consistent, getting the musical phrasing down in a way that matches the classical style. And I'm excited to hear how she approaches it, because she's a much more experienced singer than I am, much more experienced performer, and it's amazing. This is Mozart, Madden. This is from Abduction from the Seraglio. So here are the lyrics before we jump into it, and then we'll listen to it and we'll talk about it. Tortures of every kind may await me. I scorn torment and pain. Nothing will shake my resolve. I would tremble only if I were untrue to him. Be moved to pity, spare me. The heavens' blessing shall reward you. But you are determined, willingly, unflinchingly. I accept every pain and grief. Then order, command, bluster, roar, and rage. Death will liberate me in the end. Basic plot: 2 women have been abducted in this Far Eastern Seraglio, this harem, basically. And then their 2 boyfriends, who would be played. So this is the character of Costanza. And then the other characters are 2 tenors, are coming in to rescue them. And so in this case, it's Belmonte and Pedrillo. Those are the tenors, and Costanza and Blonda. This character is Costanza singing this aria. And she's talking about Belmonte. If Belmonte can't come and save her, then she would rather die than stay here any longer. So you can already feel from that text the energy, right, that's coming in. So let's listen to it. All right. So we're done with our A section, right? Well, A and B section. We had our intro, and then we are our first big chunk of classical sections, right? Classical era music being stuff from the 1700s up until the early 1800s has very clearly defined sections. This is really, really cool. It's this stuck out. Hangity, it's so impressive how a voice can overpower a full orchestra. Well, let's talk about that for a second, because no professional opera singer overpowers an orchestra. What's happening here, and she's doing it perfectly at every single moment. This is the difficulty of singing with an operatic technique, unamplified by any electronic, digital amplification of any kind. What's happening is she's creating the singer's formant, which we talk about formants here all the time. They're a series of overtones that are produced by the voice. The first and second formant are a result of space in the mouth and tongue position. That the first and second formants are responsible for creating the vowel sounds, right? You can make one pitch on one tone, and you can change the vowel. That's the first and second formants changing. A combination of the third, fourth, and fifth formants, which are just different types of resonances that occur in the voice, are what are allowing her voice, in this case, to project over the orchestra. Now, the difficulty is creating a spatial cavity where you can feel that sympathetic resonance in the head, in the body, in the chest, that is not caused by any type of tension here. Because if you have any tension here, that singer's formant is significantly weakened. And she's able to create that at all of these different dynamics, in all of these vocal colors, in all of these incredibly different parts of her range that are difficult to sing in, right? That's why she's sweating. And someone said this is the last piece of a competition she's doing, and so she's been singing for 20 minutes straight already. And if you're doing, no opera singer in the field does aria, 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 aria unless they're singing a competition. And when you're doing a regular opera, you have space to do recitative, which is not as demanding on the voice. You have space to do spoken dialogue in this kind of opera. It's cool. Yeah, no, it's Hangity. It's very impressive. But you know what I do here. I have to make the terminology make sense, right? Capriani, by the way, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Much, much, much appreciated. Guys, if you got a sub from Capriani, please thank him for me. Vocal nerd reacting to another vocal nerd. Yeah, dude, I mean, this is what I live for. Notice also in this last section we had this major segment. Very good. This major segment, she does an amazing job at pacing herself. Now, I'm looking at the timeline here. We're about 1/3 through the aria, right? This is an immense piece of singing. This is an amazing concert aria because it shows off every aspect of the voice. It's great for competitions, clearly. She's in the final round of this. I want to know the name of this competition. It's not in the title, but if someone could figure that out, it'd be great. It shows off every quality of the voice. That's what you want to bring to competitions. And she does an amazing job of right off the bat. I'm going to play the opening, and then I'm going to play some really sensitive stuff that we just listened to, and then we'll phase back into where we were. But the way she starts off, the poise and the breath power that she brings, the amazing consistency in the sound across all of her registers, that's just like bread and butter for a great operatic singer like this. Really, really awesome. So I just want to focus on her onsets here, right? Clean. The Queen Elizabeth competition. That's all. She starts each phrase perfectly balanced with her vocal folds, engaging at the same time as her breath. Nothing extra is happening, and nothing else is interfering, which is why we get that consistent timbre throughout all the range. Now, skipping forward to this next section that we just finished. She's keeping the resonance in the sound, but not working hard for it. Notice her shoulders, totally relaxed. You see the breath happening virtuosically, very metered. She has to go to very low notes, and she also knows she has very high notes, so she's not going to dig into those low notes. She's keeping everything as exactly how she practiced it, exactly how she knows it needs to go to keep things beautiful, resonant, spinning with that singer's formant, which is a technical necessity in order to project over the orchestra. And she's just in the first third of the aria, right? So she's pacing herself, is what I'm trying to say. No digging. Hashtag no mic, I love that. Boom. Blowing the lid off that first third of the aria. She knows exactly what she's doing. I also want to call attention. Notice how supple her lips are in flexibly, adjusting the vowels for where she is in her range. It's not something, you'd have to pause every millisecond, like I do, to analyze, exactly those lip positions. But what's important to draw attention to is how specific she is in the acoustic she's creating through the mouth position, right? And in order to create consonants that are projecting along with, right here, antivadi, yeah. So as long as in order to create consonants that carry along with the sound when you're using the singer's format to carry over the orchestra, you have to be so specific with the closure of those consonants as well. You have to. It does feel like you're literally spitting out the plosives if you want them to carry, but you can't spit in a way that's not amplified by the breath, right? You can't create a spitting sensation through pressurizing the mouth and the jaw. You have to just continue to send the air in a way that will propel those consonants in the same way you're propelling your voice. Hangity, do opera singers get sore in the stomach support muscles after a full performance? Well, ideally, you've practiced to the point where those muscles are going to be tired. Like any athlete after a game, those breathing muscles and those support muscles are going to be tired, but they're not going to be sore because you've practiced and trained to the point where you're not sore. Like when I do household chores and stuff, I constantly just work on breathing muscle support, like feeling that diaphragmatic expansion, keeping the sound down, keeping the breathing supported no matter what I'm doing. If I'm just breathing in and out, not even making any sound, I work on keeping those muscles expanded and released and powerful while it's happening. Do you drink during a performance? You might drink off stage to kind of clear the mouth, but the way hydration works is that you will have to drink, water like an hour before you start feeling thirsty and dehydrated. So like water's not going to fix your just dry throat until like an hour. Anyway, guys, let's keep listening. Watch that lips, those lips. Relaxed jaw, it's beautiful. Oh my God, what a phrase. Holy crap. All right, this is a good point to talk about Mozart just as a composer in general, because she's doing an amazing job at expressing the character of this kidnapped woman. This woman who's kidnapped, stolen away from her fiance, and is being forced to live in a harem, and she doesn't know if she can escape, right? And that's where this rage and fury is coming from. This character is very. There's the comedic soprano in this opera, who's Blonda, and then there's Costanza, who is the leading lady character, right? And what Mozart does such an amazing job at, better than any composer of his era, better than most composers of our current era, is just capture the true identifiable emotion of a character for the audience. Using these classical structures, these classical musical structures. Like we're sitting here 250 years after this was written, 300 years after this was written. When was this written? This was first performed 1782. So yeah, like 250 years almost after this was written. And we can still feel what this character is doing because of mostly because of how well Elizabeth is expressing these powerful emotions. But the music, and I promise you she'll say this, the music and the text will give that all to her. Her job is to interpret it and make it her own. But the music gives all of that emotion to her, gives her all of those tools to play with to exhibit such amazing characteristics. What's fantastic about this aria is that it not only gives you the character, but it gives you those moments to just completely show off your voice in a great way. This is fantastic for this competition. It fits perfectly. It fits her voice like a glove, man. I'm going to go back and listen to that super long phrase. So cool. Nice catch breath. See, in order to create the right sound, which she has the right sound, that singers form at full, deep sound at every moment, you have to be supporting. And in order to support, you have to have enough air in your lungs to be able to, create that sound without tensing up, right? This isn't a belt. This is all fully released, downwardly supported air. This isn't compressed air. And notice how she got that little catch breath. She had to get a full expansion of the breath mechanism in that tiny little moment, which I just want to draw a little bit of attention to. It's hard to catch if you're not really listening for it, but it's right at the end of that second descending line that she goes into. Breath. And still stylistically appropriate because she doesn't do it in the middle of a word, right? Beautiful. And then she eases into it. It's the same thing, having less. All right, anticlimactic. But I want to draw attention to a spot where a less experienced singer would fall into this pitfall, fall into this trap. And it's way back, but we'll work up to this, and we'll get that cadence in here, I promise. This is fierce. Like this, it's difficult to learn all this technique and continue to emote so effectively. That's usually like the final steps for a singer, but there's no lack of fluency in her ability to express. Right? Check this out. So I'm going back to that really long phrase because I wanted to hear what she was going to do after that, because this is a huge potential pitfall for an inexperienced singer. So this is right after that really long phrase that we talked about a couple minutes ago. So at this point, she just sang that huge long phrase. She had to fully release her breath and her body. And if she drove any more here, which is tempting to do, because you just had to make this huge athletic released diaphragmatic phrase, let it go. And now you have to sing all these really high notes, which takes a different type of breath flow, right? A less experienced singer would tense up here, especially with what's about to happen. Going all the way down to the bottom of her range, going all the way up to the top in like 2 measures. That's what this aria is about. This aria is about, here, let me just flex on you. And that's why people bring it to a competition, and that's why it's such a difficult and admirable role. See, in a singer who does this without emoting as well as she does would be like a vocal show-off, which is also fun. But the value is when you can emote like this and pair it with the music. Mozart gives you all the tools to do that. A less experienced, a less talented singer would not be able to do it as well as she does. But she brings that dramatic quality and that musical quality, which is the type of operatic singer we need. And it's not surprising that such a, I hate that I'm about to say this, but such a charismatic person such as Elizabeth is able to bring both that dramatic and that musical aspect together and still perform it virtuosically with the voice. It's the same kind of person who would spend their time relating a classical singer's perspective to a huge, massive audience on YouTube. Because that's noble. And the way she's singing this is incredibly noble. This character, Costanza, is very noble, perfect for her. I would love to do this opera with her, even though she's like kind of way out of my league at this point in an artistic perspective. But I sing all of this stuff. I sing all the Mozart roles for tenor, and this is the perfect Mozart voice. And I'm curious if she still sings this today or if she's moved on to other repertoire. But it's very inspiring. Because she was about my age when she was doing this concert, this competition. It's just so damn good. Dude, fuck the jaw wiggle haters. Get out of here. Those florid runs are so sick. Getting into that final cadence now. Why are you guys laughing, chat? I just turned 26. So I said about my age, but she was younger than I am currently when she did this. By 2 years, yeah. Wearing a blue dress. I mean, hey, when I say, guys, when I say I sing all this stuff, I mean I sing the tenor roles from these operas. I sing the Mozart tenor stuff. She's singing the lead soprano role from this opera. I sing the role of Belmonte from this opera. I just turned 26. There's my answer. If you type in ! age, it'll tell you my age. Oh, well, there you go. I'm 53. That's a great call, Wie Sildale. She wore this dress again. That's very cool. Oh, cool, Nati. You know I'm an ancient soul. How could you not be an ancient soul when you like commit your life to this beautiful music? Anyway. Let's get into this final cadence. This is where the fire comes. So you're at the end of this aria, right? We paused here earlier. You're at the end of this aria. You just sung a 25-minute set for a competition. No room for errors, right? You're crushing it. And so there you have to pick your moments where you're going to prioritize technique or you're going to prioritize dramatics. Because no matter who you are, there are still those moments. And I just want to call attention, not to anyone's detriment, not to her detriment, but on these really fast runs, these amazingly florid, clean, crisp runs, man. Look at her face. She's in athlete mode. She's in technique mode, which is totally cool. Because what else are you going to do? But look at the intense focus when she gets to it, right up here. This is the intensity and fieriness of the character that you guys were talking about, that she mentioned, right? That's so hard! And she does it so well. Look at that intensity in her face. Yes. Well, Trippy, the good thing about not understanding operatic words is that oftentimes they're repeated immensely. For example, this aria is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 lines of text. But the aria is 8 minutes long. You wouldn't guess that. If it were an 8 minutes long song today in the context of pop or rock music, it would be like 8 paragraphs. This is 1 paragraph, and it's repeated text. And the music tells you everything you need to know about the text. That's the virtuosic genius of Mozart. You don't need to understand the text to understand what's going on. And that's the virtuosic, amazing nature of Elizabeth as a singer, is that you don't need to hear the text. You hear the text. You can hear the consonants. If you listen, you can hear the consonants. You hear the vowels she's using. You hear this consistent, beautiful timbre. But there's so much other stuff going on that's going to distract you from that, from the actual words, right? Exactly. Too many notes to worry about the words, and too few words to worry about, what you're actually saying. It's beautiful. I feel like... Oh, that's it. Nice. Can we get some bravos in the chat? Can we get some bravos in chat, please, guys? More bravos in the chat. Beautiful. I know it's brava. It's the singular. Very cool. I mean, yeah. You guys, if you've been here long enough, if you've been here for 10 minutes, I'm an opera guy, and I'm going to dive in on that stuff because I think it's very important to celebrate that music. And that's me. Elizabeth, thank you for sharing that with us. That was really beautiful. You're an inspiration.